The writer's strike is over. Terms to be determined later. Burnout and Southern Pink something. And now your host, Mike Indeglio.
What's up, team? He's not even trying. Welcome to K&M Geekly. Just a sneak peek at one geek forcing another one to get on camera, despite all clear indications that he is not interested and has got other ish to do. But
you know what it means? I think that what we're seeing here today, friendship. That is what we are seeing here today.
Yeah. Friendship. Well, I promised. Look, we've promises made, promises kept. Hopefully, Keith fulfilled his promise to appear.
I did. I am technically here.
He's technically here. I promised to keep it brief. So one of us has more of a challenge.
One of us is lying.
Yeah. So it's Monday, and we have a beautiful AI generated fall background, which does highlight, Keith, that we are in sort of what, in my opinion, I think we share this. I think we've talked about it before. The briefest of windows of my favorite season. Mm-hmm. The global warming / torture / God's wrath has made it such that we only get fall here in the Northeast anymore for a couple weeks, if we're lucky. It should be a biting cold winter or summer in the next week or two. So we'll see. So I'm enjoying it. Had coffee on the terrace with a little blanket this morning, watching CBS Sunday Morning from yesterday. Really just wonderful. Not only that, but last night, Keith, we got word that potentially we might have television again. Thank goodness, because already makeshift Jeopardy and just random reality shows isn't cutting it for those of us who enjoyed the golden age of prestige television. So let's go ahead and pop over and quickly talk about... So let me read you what we've got, all right, what we know as of an hour ago, okay? The WGA, this has nothing to do with SAG-AFTRA just yet, has reached a tentative agreement about the labor dispute, which has dragged on for nearly 150 days, thanks to the WAPO for this, Washington Post. The joint statement was released late last night, and this is what was released to members. For the record, it's not the strike is not over right now. All right, we have paused picketing until the final agreement is all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. But Adam Conover tweets, "We did it. We have a tentative deal. Over the coming days, we'll discuss and vote on it together as a democratic union. But today, I want to thank every single WGA member and, of course, podcasts who supported them."
I mean, I think we might have tipped it over.
I don't think there's any might necessary in that sentence.
Us and our 30 viewers, man.
And every fellow worker who stood with us, you made this possible. And then this is what went out to members. Dear members, we have reached a tentative agreement on the new 2023 MBA, which is to say an agreement in principle on deal points. Subject to drafting final contract language, we have won in this contract. What we have won in this contract, most particularly everything we have gained since May 2nd, is due to the willingness of this membership to exercise its power, to demonstrate solidarity, to walk side by side, to endure the pain and uncertainty of the past 146 days. It is the leverage generated by your strike in concert with the extraordinary support of our union siblings that we are officially part of, Keith, and that finally brought the companies back to the table to make a deal. We can say with great pride that this deal is exceptional, with meaningful gains and predictions for writers in every sector of the membership. It sounds to me, Keith, as if the studios, surprise, recognize that they don't have much without content. And writers tend to be necessary in said content. And I'm really interested to read what gains we made when it comes to AI, which is something we spent a lot of time talking about. Yeah. What else was here? What does this mean for the TV shows that were affected by the strike? Well, settling the WGA strike means that writers can resume writing scripts, which should help ease the growing backlog of delayed TV and film projects that have piled up since we voted to strike in May. Many reality shows and other projects don't rely on striking actors may resume production immediately. Variety reports that Hollywood studios began planning this week for a return to production in anticipation of an agreement being reached, which means the studios were sending out little memos saying, we're ready to do this deal. But it may take a while for some of your favorite TV shows and movies to resume filming, particularly if the actor strike is not resolved. I'm curious as to see how quickly SAG comes back to the table if it's... but they need their own agreement, so it could be a whole separate thing.
It's a separate thing, and I think from the studio's perspective, the SAG one is probably more consequential because there are many more performers than there are writers, and so I think that one might be a little bit harder. And I wonder if if SAG continues to get blocked out, whether the WGA, as a sympathetic union, might go back and strike with them once again. But I don't say this knowing anything, just pure speculation.
Yeah, my speculation would be the opposite. It feels to me as if, because of the sort of memos that went out and how coordinated all of these announcements were last night, that
they must have something.
The dominoes are ready to all come down, and I think that the studios, because the work that needs to be done, and I don't think it's as hard a lift here, is they have to undo the really terrible press and the really terrible sort of ill will that was kind of warranted about this, as television shows being pushed, pulled, movies being delayed. I mean,
yeah.
Although I say that, and knowing full well that the general consumption public doesn't give a crap about any of this stuff. As soon as the TV is available, they will go watch it. So.
But it's almost like professional writers and performers are good at representing themselves in the public, though, and tend to be pretty persuasive because that's what they do for a living.
Yeah. So this is the way it's supposed to work. I hesitate to paint with such a broad brush, but I think at their best, unions strike when the balance is completely shifted out of power, and can only assert their strength as a combined union, as a combined force, with solidarity of the other unions, is what we saw in this case. 146 days is a long time to be out of work. You might think about your job. What if you just left for 146 days? But now the agreements are in place. Hopefully we've gained... I'm really excited to see what we've gained, because, look, the future is approaching. We have to start future-proofing the way we protect creatives and we protect art. So I'm excited to see it.
And I think, there's an auto workers strike going on, and I think, hey, do you enjoy your weekend? Thank a union.
Yeah.
Because there was no such thing before unions. But here's, and so I think that unions are having a bit of a resurgence right now, because, there's one side of the political spectrum has been undermining and trying to get rid of unions for the last 100 years, since, the Great Depression that was caused by not having unions. But I heard this on 538 podcast about this. They're doing a little quiz about just information. And Mike, what would you guess the percentage of workers in America that are represented by a union?
I'd have to say it's probably much lower than we think, right? So
good guess.
30%?
11.3%. That's
Yikes.
it.
Yikes
is right. Hopefully, I think unions are tremendously important. And I think, perhaps the income inequality that we have built in this society over the last 100 years, I think that's really the only way we're going to get it back.
A big one.
Continuing to unionize.
Not a conversation that I'll pontificate about too much right now, but I will say one of my favorite things, we talk about it on the show often, is video games. And AAA video games right now is become one of the, if not, I think it's like the second just global media thing as far as just income and income generation is concerned. But what a lot of these companies do is they hire a ton of people to crunch these games out, and the second they're released, they fire everybody or they lay them off.
Yeah.
And
no, they absolutely need a union.
Yeah, and they are not unionized, and there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these incredible skilled artists who just get screwed because there's no protections for them. And so I hope that's the next thing. And it's sad. This past 2 months, there have been like 4 studios that have either laid off everyone or closed entirely. One of my favorite games this year, I haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. I will. It's called It's by a studio called Mimi Studios. Mimi Studios. They do like sort of tactics slash covert stealth games. Really fun with fun aesthetics. We'll talk about one of them coming up. Anyway, they just had to shut down entirely. They just released sort of their masterpiece game, I think, and had to shut down because they just can't afford to pay everybody. So sad. Anyway, good news. Hopefully the good news will continue, Keith. But in its interim, I did get a chance to check some stuff out on television this week that I wanted to talk about and share with y'all. I'm going to hit this button here to transition, hopefully. Maybe.
Ooh, I can't wait.
No, I'm just gonna pop it over. So 2 shows. First, I want to talk about the Murdaugh Murders: A Southern Scandal. This is the Netflix version of the sort of docuseries that had.
I was going to
aired.
say this is familiar. This guy's familiar, right? Didn't
Yes.
we watch something?
We did. We watched season 1, and season 1.
Oh,
was,
there's a season 2.
yeah, all about. This is on Netflix. This was all about the Murdaugh family down in the South, and how there's all kinds of crazy stuff was happening, and then the wife and the son got murdered, and you might have seen it all over the news because the trial was like 2 months ago, 3 months late. And season 1 was pretty cool. There was also an HBO version of this, and I think also like something on Hulu about it. So that your cup runneth over if you want more details on this case. And season 1 was pretty good. It was all about kind of the backstory. But what I was upset about was that the trial was happening. And for me, some of my favorite parts about true crime is like following the trial. So what season 2 does, and I love it, there are 3 1-hour episodes, so it's just 3 hours of your time. They take the trial, which has ended, right? They take it from start to finish. It's basically a procedural drama of the entire trial. They have interviews with both prosecutors, the defense attorney, and a bunch of the witnesses. And they do a timeline, and they intersperse actual B-roll and actual information that kind of fills in the testimony and shows it and talks to some jurors. Oh, it's just great coverage. It's like everything you hear in a really good trial podcast, but in a visual form. I think it's better than season 1 because it's much more concise and much more complete. So Murdaugh Murders, Southern Scandal, season 2 on Netflix. If you already know stuff about the case, I'd say skip season 1 and just go right for the trial bits. It's the best part.
Interesting.
Also, Keith, you ever watch Ryan Murphy's American Horror Story? Have you ever been jumped in at any point?
I think I watched like the first half of season 1, like the
Murder House.
Dylan McDermott one. Yeah, I think I don't know if I got all the way to the end of it, but I did watch. I've seen a lot of the Ryan Murphy stuff. I never really got myself too far into the horror.
So I loved the first 3 seasons of this show. It was Murder House, then it was Asylum, which was like maybe the best. Then we had Coven, and then there was Hotel, which I watched. I watched like the first 5 seasons. The thing about this show is that we talk on our other show about tonal inconsistencies. There are a lot of tonal inconsistencies in these shows. They go from horror to like black comedy to sort of satire. And also within the arcs of the seasons, they sometimes change plots entirely or drop subplots, or like you can't always get from the first couple episodes what the show's even about, right? Which doesn't always work for me, but if you're in, you kind of roll with it, right? It's very soap opera in that way. The past 9 seasons have been pretty wholly unremarkable, with the exception of one season called 1984, which was like a slasher camp, an 80s camp slasher horror.
Oh, that one sounds fun.
Vibe. Yeah, it was really well done. It hits all the points of pastiche of that kind of slasher genre.
I do love 80s slasher stuff.
I know you do.
Really
I think
do.
of all American Horror Stories, that's like the one you would like, I think. So anyway, I haven't watched the past 3 seasons, just kind of have been out. And I just, by the 12th season of anything, you're lucky if it's going to be good. So I decided I'll watch the pilot. And even though I just said you can't really judge from the pilot, if you're not even remotely interested, there's probably little chance it's going to grab you later. So I figured I'll give it an hour. Me and Jen watched the first 5 minutes and she checked out. So I decided late at night I would just finish it up on my iPad. So I watched the 12th season. It's called Delicate. Here's the basic plot summary, y'all. Emma Roberts, one of the they do a lot of using the same.
He has his.
His rogues gallery, if you will. She is a really busy actress, and she is trying to find time to maybe have a child, even though her career is taking off. So she gets inseminated by what appears to be, with a broad stroke, I'll paint it, maybe the devil's seed.
Oh, well, you know.
Okay, so that could lead
As
to
one
some
does.
great horror, potentially. And Keith, this also marks her publicist, who we meet in the first episode, is played by the acting debut of none other than Kim Kardashian.
Oh, golly.
And I'm going to say it right here on the internet. It is maybe one of the worst things I've ever seen. It is so coached, and and listen, God bless her. She didn't just like go wing it. She took acting lessons. She really coached up for this, and you see every second of that work, Keith. You just see someone crunching it along. It does not help that the dialogue for her is absolutely trash panda. It is so cringe. Look, I even love bad stuff, but it's so
Are
cringe.
we Paris Hilton in House of Wax here?
Ooh, I feel bad because she is clearly really trying. But the script is bad. Everything is bad. And I can't believe that the seasons I like were even good. I have to go rewatch them and be like, was I just wrong?
No. It's that bad?
It's really bad. And I'm happy because I don't have to watch it now. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much stuff. I like when I can rule things out.
We almost never pan stuff.
No, I wouldn't even bring it up other than these are the only things I watched this week outside of football. And so I had to mention it. Look, it's bad. Y'all, save your time. Do not watch this. Don't even.
Wow.
Maybe watch some clips of Kim Kardashian just to be like, wow, that's really happened. But yeah, so anyway, I'm going to put a button on it there. But listen, Murdaugh Murders, check it out. AHS, I saved you an hour of your life.
Wow. Okay. Well, because you almost had me sniffing back in because.
No. Go watch 1984 though. It's pretty good.
I've liked some Ryan Murphy stuff a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
I like both of the docu murder stuff,
the
OJ thing, and then the follow up
Menendez brothers.
Oh, I didn't see the Menendez one. Is there a Menendez one?
I think so.
Maybe
I'm just naming trials. I don't know.
OJ and OJ2 and civil OJ. That Anthony, he murdered. God, just not ready to perform today. What was the?
There is a Menendez. So we have Monster 2, the Ryan Murphy's. So what was Monster 1? What? Jeffrey Dahmer?
Oh, I saw some of the Dahmer stuff. It was pretty. Honestly, the Dahmer thing was just a little too dark, even for me.
Okay.
It was just like, oh man, this is sort of relentless. It was an American Crime Story.
Oh yeah, the first.
It was.
Oh, damn it.
The one. Hold on, I'm looking. I really liked the Clinton one.
Oh yeah, that was right with Sarah Paulson, right? No, she was Marsha Clark and OJ.
She was Marsha Clark, but she was Linda Tripp in
Impeachment.
In that
was
one.
Called.
Impeachment, which I thought was pretty. I mean, I tell you what, that my whole concept of that. I think. Oh, it was the Versace one. The Andrew
I did not
Cunanan
watch
one.
that one.
I thought that was great.
Travolta?
No.
I'm confusing them all. This is terrible podcast.
Darren Criss, Ricky Martin, Edgar Ramirez. I thought that was excellent.
A who's who of television stars. 80s pop stars turned television personalities.
Will Chase. Broadway's Will Chase. Got some good folks. But Darren Criss was terrific in that. Anyway, well, I guess there's more. I gotta go watch it. I have to re-up my Netflix. I think that's my problem.
Keith, I also went to see Pink in concert, the Summer Carnival tour.
Oh, that's right. You told me you're gonna do that.
Yeah, it was like the most random thing, y'all. So my niece is really into Pink because there's a documentary, which I haven't watched yet. If there's a documentary about like a tour documentary with Pink, it's supposed to be absolutely fantastic. So I will check that out. But it was their big Christmas present. My brother and his wife spent a bunch of money to get tickets to Pink because she's from Philadelphia, and so this was her big summer tour was coming to an end in Philadelphia, big homecoming. The Citizens Bank Park holds about 48,000 people, and there were about 68. There's about 20,000 extra people at this concert.
Whoa.
Pink is a global superstar. I know that, but I guess I just didn't. And I know all her songs, but I just didn't know. So anyway, my nieces got sick or something, and my brother and his wife called me. They're like crying because they spent all this money. And day of the concert, you can't get your money back. You can sell them for like a quarter of their price. But so anyway, like, do you guys want to go? And I was like, yeah, I guess we'll go. Cool. Like, when is the concert? And he's like, we're 10 minutes from your house. And I was like, oh, okay. So we had to like radically. That's why I texted you. We had to radically change our day.
Oh my God.
So we go to this concert, and like my brother's already in bad
nieces.
mood. Yeah, they're in they can't take any pictures or like outwardly enjoy it because it's like someone else's. Anyway, we go. At great seats. And it was a great concert. It was really great. But what Pink does that nobody else does, right? There are superstars, but she's also an aerialist. Great dancer, great singer. She's an aerialist, and I've seen cuts of it and different stuff. But what you can't comprehend. And look, you've been to the circus, everyone, or you've seen Cirque du Soleil stuff. Like, you've seen aerialists do their things before, and so you think you know the vibe of it, the risk reward of it, the sort of artistry of it. I'm not underselling any of that or any other performance, but I will say what you've never seen is someone who will do it. Even Lady Gaga, when she like leapt from the top of the stadium, like in that Super Bowl performance. Mm-hmm. Pink's big finale here is she's on a harness, right? But the harness is attached to 5 anchor points at the top of a baseball stadium. So like picture a baseball stadium. And then when she sings the chorus of the song, it zips her to the top of the baseball stadium. 300, 400 feet in the air? I don't even know how tall is a baseball stadium. And then, Keith, it starts, because like, you know, when you go see a stadium concert, there's 65,000 people there, you're far away. She flies around the entire circumference of the stadium, like up to the 300 levels. So you're like, there's Pink right there. And she's just like singing. And 500 feet in the air. Like, what insurance company signed off on this nonsense? Like, she's a global superstar. It's like, psh. So anyway.
That's really cool.
Spectacular. Even more spectacular. All of the people who left 3 songs before that, because they're like, we got to beat traffic, right? And you're like, what are you thinking? You know the best thing is going to happen last. And they're just like, were in the parking lot. That was awesome. And then, and lastly, I'll put a point on it here is, you can love music. You can love somebody's music or not love somebody's music. But what's interesting is that it's not always talent, or not just talent, I should say, that separates a popular musician or a talented musician. It takes something special to make someone a global superstar, right? It's not just like great marketing, right? That just makes somebody like your Puff Daddies or your Jay-Z's or these like your Taylor Swifts. There's something about their charisma, they call it factor, whatever, that changes you from like, oh, the teeny boppers love her, to people will pay $1,200 a ticket, 70,000 people in every city. So Pink's draw, apparently, her take home, right? Not the maiden draw, but not the gate. Her draw is 3 million to 6 million per city. Oof. And that pales in comparison to Taylor Swift, who basically single-handedly saved musical touring this year, but just by showing how profitable it can be. So that's the cool thing to watch, right? Just like someone who can have like a casual, charismatic conversation on stage in front of 70,000 people and like connect to these people. It's a really magical thing to watch.
And that's a really cool rig, because it's basically the Spider-Man.
Yes.
The Broadway Spider-Man rig, which allowed you sort of free motion throughout the whole space there. But what's crazy about what she's doing is that it took Spider-Man like a year and a half to get it right in one static area.
Yeah, and still broke every couple nights.
Oh yeah, I saw it break. But they have to re-rig that for every stadium that she's in, and every stadium is different. All the dimensions are different. The obstacles are different. That's a really
she has to
impressive,
feel comfortable to go up and do it.
Right. That's a very impressive, like, technical feat that they're able to tour that concept.
All right, so that, you know, briefly, I'll just say, we went and played poker last night with a bunch of my friends while watching football, and it's friendship, y'all. That's really, really nice. Pretty magical, I will say.
It's good to have friends.
No, it's good. And my wife is leaving for a few months to do a show in New York, which I think I can say now. She's doing.
Yeah, cast has been announced.
She hasn't though, because she hasn't signed any papers. But I think that's all taking place. But regardless, she's doing it. It's called I Can Get It For You Wholesale. It's a revival of a show that played on Broadway very briefly, but it was Barbra Streisand's first big role. So Jen's gonna be a swing in that, which is a challenging thing to do. I don't know if we ever talked about it on the show. I've done it a couple times. You're basically understudying 3 parts, but you're not in the ensemble, so you're off stage. So you basically go to work every day, just kind of. Well, if you're my wife, hoping, being prepared and ready and professional to go on if necessary. Or if you're me, crapping your pants for an hour every night, just
desperately praying you won't happen.
Is going to feel sick that night. So congratulations to CEO Jen, and she's heading off. So we're going to spend as much time as we can together this week. So I guess that's how I'll use my weekly rad key.
That's awesome. I mean, understudying swinging is terrifying. I mean, I did... only done it a couple of times when I was doing summer stock kind of 15 years ago. We're doing producers.
Ooh.
Right. And so I was doing the sort of like all the character featured ensemble stuff, but I was covering both Franz and the Nathan Lane role.
That's a gargantuan cover too.
Gargantuan role. And the problem is I didn't get cast in that until like 2 weeks before the show happened. Because I was doing Les Mis, the show before it, and they're like, "Oh, we need another guy. You want to come do the show?" I'm like, "Sure." Do the next show in the season, and then like, "Oh, we want you to cover these 2 roles," and I was not prepared. Like that would have been an absolute disaster. And the guy who was doing Max, the Nathan Lane role, was like, he was an older guy, and like I'm like, is he like? Everyone was a little concerned he was gonna make it through every night. And I'm dying on the inside. So Jen's ability to do that, Jillian did the same thing. She covered 2 roles as an offstage swing on Broadway, and it was just like, God, terrifying. And sometimes you just don't get the rehearsal and time to plan for that you think you're going to.
What's interesting here is that they've been in rehearsal. The show's been rehearsing because it goes up at the end of October. They're not even bringing the swings in until Tech Week, which is the week before the show opens. So
that's how they save money, by not letting the understudies even be in the rehearsal room.
So they save money, but their sell, which makes sense, because I'll say that I swung a tour of Forever Plaid, which is a very tight 4-part harmony show, and I covered 3 of the tracks, right? So,
jeez.
Which is weird because Jinx wasn't covered. It was like a contractual thing. I did not enjoy him. So he was like, I'm not going to be sick. So basically we'd have to shut the show down if Jinx went out, but long story short.
Everyone else, that's really weird.
It's really sucked. But keeping all that straight in your head, all those harmonies and everything, luckily there's not a strong choreography in that show, so I can't imagine people who have to learn multiple choreos. Anyway.
So hard.
They also say, it's much easier for some people to learn a show once it's set. Because in rehearsal, a lot of things can change, and they do this, and then they go back the other way. So if you're just sitting back, everything's mirrored, and you're just sitting there trying to remember it, and then change it and scratch it out. So it might be easier to go in and just watch how it's set, and be like, this is how it's going to be, memorize this, but it's still a short period of time. Anyway, Keith, you have anything else that you want to talk about?
Well, and you're also responsible for being ready to go first preview.
Yeah, because anything can happen. Oh, yeah. Because
anything can happen.
There's this disease that was around. I don't know.
What, really?
Yeah.
What is this? Yeah, no, it's craziness. Yeah, I'm glad. This is one of the main reasons I'm really glad to not be performing as much anymore.
Keith, speaking of having so much to do that, sometimes maybe it's too much. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, no, it's so funny. Is there a weekly rad? I'm so burned out. I can't even tell you exactly why I'm burned out.
That's what burnout is.
Yeah, I've been pet sitting. And I love this dog and I love, a pretzel, but I think I'm codependent with animals. So I feel this outsized sense of responsibility. Oh, are you bored? Are you tired? You have to pee? Oh God. And then I can't ever turn it off, until I get really comfortable with an animal. So I think that's, So I don't know if it's a weekly rad. It's just a weekly thing that is happening.
I had that, the exact same thing because my wife's friends were in town this week, and I love them. And their kid was here, and the kid's awesome. I love the kid. He will be ours if anything ever happened to them. Jen and I are the couple people pick to give their child to if they die in a horrific way. So we'd have to deal with all that trauma. Apparently, they think we're equipped for that.
So your complaint is not being the godparents to children. It's just like, now that you know they're going to be screwed up because their parents just died in a balloon accident.
There's no good outcome in this scenario.
So we'll take your kids if they're in a good mood.
That's funny. My friend Wes, we also are his kids, like, because they're like, our parents would be too old. We want you and Jen. I was like, oh, that's great. He's like, don't worry, there's a trust. And I was like, okay, great. I would hope so, because we have to pay for his therapy.
In that case,
drink this tea. No, so they were here, and same thing. It's funny. People think it's like, oh, you're so OCD about your stuff. You're always like, when people hear you're cleaning up stuff, it's like, no. It has nothing to do with my OCD. I just don't want to hurt them. Or like, I want the kid to be entertained, so I want to play with this. Like, I can't handle
still
down.
OCD, but
it's a little of that too. I can't handle downtime, right? Like, I don't want them to be bored. I don't want them to think we're bad guests. I don't think we're no fun. But same exact thing you're describing. And so when they leave, they were here for a day. You're exhausted.
I
get it.
But I think what you just said about not being able to handle downtime is also what I'm dealing with, because like I've said many times I'm working on a new project, which I'm so excited about, and I think it's been really fun. I like the work that I'm doing on it. But I think I'm putting so much pressure on myself on this project that like I realized I tried to on Saturday, right after we did our shows, and I'm like, you need to not work on it for the next like 8 hours before you go to bed. And what I did is I found myself like, okay, I'm not going to write, not going to sit down, not going to work on new lyrics. But then I just did, and then I thought about it the whole time, and then I just kept researching, and I realized like I need to reboot a little bit, because I think I am getting burned out. No one is putting this pressure on me to get this done this fast. No one is saying you must do this, and it's like I'm just really excited about it. And I think that when I'm really excited and I get in that flow state and I don't want to stop and I want to go, and I don't really have an off switch, so that it is 24/7 in my mind. In the middle of the night, I'm writing down ideas in my phone. Like I can't stop.
Well, dude, is like you have to really kind of think about the other projects you've worked on in your life and like how old you were when you worked on those, because you are obsessive. Right, I think it's fair to say with your work.
I think that's fair.
That's not a pejorative, but self-care takes on a more important meaning, because working that hard, you don't come up for air, and unfortunately, you need air. You know what I mean? That's like the long and short of it, right? And like I'm not your therapist, so like the like added pressure you put on with some of these things because you compare it to like what it should do or what you hope it will do, and like all of the life it may have that you have no control over, like, so that ain't for me to deal with. But the simple, like, sometimes you got to eat and drink and like sleep and take care of yourself. That's just stuff you have to force upon yourself, because otherwise you will end up in said state.
No, and I totally get it. And it's and what I realize is not that I'm not enjoying working on it. It's just I'm feeling the overwhelmed by like everything. Yeah. And so like literally everything, oh my God, I have to get up and turn the microwave on. It's too much, right? And it's like I'm not even doing anything.
Well, let me just commiserate for a second then on the podcast, because you're not the only one. So I mentioned a couple of times, like I just bid off this cruise show that's coming up, and I just have this. It's weird. It's like I think I want to do it, I should want to do it, right?
Should, yeah.
And so I think, well, I'm going to commit to it so that it will force myself to have to learn it and to sing again and to do the stuff, which is something I need to do because I have a tendency. My executive dysfunction helps me. I don't follow through with some things that I say I'm going to do. But there are times in life, as you get older and as priorities shift, as we've talked about, maybe I don't want to do it. And what I've come to is I don't want to do this thing. And so I've been putting it off. And I can learn it pretty quickly. I just don't want to. Unfortunately, I've committed to this and I'm not going to pull out of it. So I now have like 2.5 weeks to learn 2 full shows with all the stupid choreo. And I've got to now do it. Like when we finish this, I have to like make a cup of coffee, clear out the office, and like boot camp myself because I have to do it. And I'm just, there's so much other stuff I have to do. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, in times like this, folks, what is important is gratitude. And so I want to quickly spend a moment talking about gratitude. As you might see, the slide is filling up a little bit. We have some new people join the team. It might help that we've lowered our cost of entry to the Patreon to $1. But it's because we enjoy more names and more family and more faces. So I want to read off these people who I can't express to you how much we appreciate. People send us stuff in the mail. We spent the weekend playing with toys because of these fine folks. Brian Kimball, Beersock, Casey Clark, Jason Moe, welcome back, Jason.
Welcome
Joshua
back.
Cronin, Andrew Hayes, Jorge Navoa, and the Mysterious. And thanks so much for all you write and everything you do. You're awesome. Worf's Big Old Boot Shivs, thank you. Charles Babbage, Richard Coleman, Harry Pothead, Peter Benke, welcome to the family. CRM Productions, Nikolai Ivanovich Lobachevsky, Delusions at Noon, Steve Brown, YouTube viewer, James Hubbard, he's here. Lisa Kislova, she's here. And then JD Makes, oh my goodness, did he send us the cool stuff in the mail. Check out, look at my Star Trek toys. Colin Dagan, oh my God.
Same thing.
The nightlight is glowing right now. Chris Mitchell, CRM, who, Keith, the second he saw me break the leg on my figure, wrote me and said, hey, I've got the 3D print if you need a new one. I did fix them. My leg's a little stiff now. I lost a little articulation, but it is intact.
We all do as we get older.
Pat and Joshua Cronin. Guys, talk about just a great group of people. If you want to join that team, it's only $1. It doesn't have to be just $1. I'm just saying that's the price. That's the bar, okay? Patreon.com/KNM. Keith and I are planning something fun for the spooky season, but I'm not committing to anything just yet until everybody takes over, until someone's butt unclenches.
Wow, who could you be talking about?
And we can all take a deep breath and enjoy a nice frosty beverage together. Let's get out of here. Under 40 minutes. I think that's what I promised. Listen, everybody, take care of yourselves. If you need to take a break from watching YouTube videos, if you need a break from anything, doesn't matter. Do what you need to do for yourself, but keep doing the things you have fun. Don't let anybody yuck your yum. Until we talk again, keep on geeking on.